Coming up on today's episode of Four Vert, are the New Orleans Saints making a huge mistake in their coaching search? We discuss next. Be sure to subscribe for more NFL videos. I'm Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for spending part of their Wednesday with us here on Four Verts. Kellen Moore sounds like he's going to be the next man as the Saints head coach. Now, to be clear, this is not official. It can't become official technically until after the Super Bowl, although I do think we'll get an official leak sometime this week or next week if he does end up being the guy. I guess the safe way to say is he is the clear front runner at this point, and most expect that he will be the next Saints head coach. And my initial reaction, to be honest, I don't know if I like this for either party. And I'll tell you why. One, the Saints are just not in a great situation right now. They have the worst cap situation in the league. They don't have a long-term answer at quarterback. Derek Carr is a decent bridge guy for now, but given his cap situation, you're probably going to have to cut him. This is one of the worst jobs you could possibly have right now. There's a reason Cliff Kingsbury opted out. There's a reason Aaron Glenn didn't even fly to New Orleans to do a second interview there and said, nope, I'll take the dysfunctional Jets, because the Saints is not viewed as a great situation currently, because for years they kicked the can down the road on their salary cap. And everyone was like, oh, Mickey Loomis is this cap expert. And it's like, well, yeah, he's able to manipulate it and move money down the road. The problem is you don't do that if you're not a team that is competitive. And they haven't been competitive since Drew Brees retired. So they're in a bad way. And I just think, and we'll kind of dive into this more with Kellen, that his first time as a head coach, like that's a situation, A, that he wants to walk into, and that's the guy that they want to turn to. I thought Mike McCarthy made a ton of sense for New Orleans. Reports coming out last night that he will not coach in 2025. He has shifted his focus to the 2026 cycle. As he is not going to end up with the job here. I think when he and Dallas parted ways, he felt pretty confident he was going to get a job. I think he was the backup plan in Chicago if they didn't get Ben Johnson, but obviously they did. I think he felt like the Saints could be an opportunity, but that is not going to be the case at this point in time. And I think this was the surprising part to me, to kind of tie it back to the Saints. Jordan Schultz reported this, direct quote from his Twitter page. Mike McCarthy did not garner the interest from the Saints that he anticipated. Kellen Moore is the leader in the clubhouse. And I got to be honest, that puzzles me. To me, again, circling back to New Orleans' current situation, cap hell, not a great roster, not a quick path to winning at least next year, probably for at least 2 years. To me, that screams, let's get a stabilizer in here. Let's get somebody who's done the job before, and that is not the route they're going. They said, oh, we're not impressed with Mike. You're not impressed with the guy who's won 61% of his games, who's won a Super Bowl, who won 12 games 3 years in a row at the Dallas Cowboys, not exactly the greatest situation ever with Jerry Jones running the show. That doesn't impress you at all. And oh, by the way, and for Saints fans watching, you may not like this, go compare Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy's resumes. They're very similar. They're both offensive guys. They both have won one Super Bowl. They both have had a bunch of winning seasons. They both have lost playoff games that most would have said going in that they should have won. Would I take Sean Payton over Mike McCarthy? Absolutely. But for the Saints to act like this is a bad candidate, I just don't get that at all. And to me, I think there's a lot of pressure on Kellen Moore here. I really, really do. This has been a guy who, for whatever reason, has not been able to land a head coaching job until potentially now, it looks like. And you're walking into a situation that is going to take a lot of time, a lot of patience. And if you're losing a lot early for a first-time head coach, that can be tough to take. That can be tough to endure. You're going to need a strong leader to sit in that role. And I thought McCarthy would have been perfect for that, even if he wasn't the long-term guy. Stabilize the ship, kind of like with Pete Carroll with the Raiders, get it back to a solid standpoint, and in 5 years, hand it off to someone else. I really thought that's what they should have done, but that is not the direction they've gone in here. So again, nothing's official, but we know it's not going to be McCarthy. He's withdrawn at this point, and they reportedly weren't that interested in him. So now, unless Kellen changes his mind, the only other two guys that got second interviews, Mike Kafka, the Giants offensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins DC. Out of those three, I would take Kellen Moore. I think he's got the most on his resume, but I think this was a job that a longtime head coach would have made a lot of sense for, but clearly Mickey Loomis and the Saints brass disagrees. What say you? Who would have been the better option for the Saints, Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy? Here's what you guys think down in the comment section below. You guys know my stance. I think McCarthy would have been a great hire for New Orleans. I honestly thought when the Bears landed Ben Johnson, I was like, oh, McCarthy to the Saints is a lock, and that is not the case. So you guys let me know what you guys think, or if there's someone else out there that you think would be a better fit. Okay, let's get to a quick rumor here, then we'll get out of here. Russell Wilson to Las Vegas. That appears to be gaining more steam. We talked about this briefly the other day when it was announced that Pete Carroll would be the head coach of the Raiders. Report from Jeff Howe at the time was that Wilson and Pete Carroll had made up, and that don't be surprised if there's a potential reunion in Las Vegas. Well, let's continue to stoke the flames here because Pete Carroll and the Raiders have interviewed Darrell Bevell for their offensive coordinator position, and Darrell Bevell was the Seahawks OC from 2011 to 17. Russ got drafted in 2012, so he was Russ's OC for 6 seasons. Of course, in those 6 seasons, they went to 2 Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl, several other playoff appearances, a lot of success. They ended up parting ways, but you kind of get the sense that they're getting the band back together. You're seeing the dots start to connect here with Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, now Darrell Bevell. I would say if the Raiders hire Darrell Bevell, there is at least a 50-50 chance that Wilson will sign with the Raiders in NFL free agency. And it does feel like a 2-team race. I do think there will be interest in the Steelers in bringing him back. They've got to decide, do we want to bring back Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? I think they'll bring back one quarterback, and then they will draft the quarterback like on day 2. Obviously, they're not going to have the ammunition probably to go get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, but they could take a Will Howard, a Jackson Dart, a Jalen Milroe, whoever, on day 2 or day 3 of the NFL draft to develop behind Wilson or Fields and ideally or at least potentially be their quarterback for the future. But I think it's down to 2 for us. I mean, maybe the Giants or someone else has interest, but I think it'll be the Raiders or it will be the Steelers. So we will see how it all ends up playing out for Russell Wilson and the Las Vegas Raiders. And if I'm Russ, shoot, I might just go to the Raiders. Like, less pressure, not expected to win, play indoors, better conditions. You're comfortable with Pete. If they hire Darrell Bevell, you've played under him before and had success. So that might be the way I go if I'm Russell Wilson, if I'm being completely honest. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of 4 Verts. Of course, when the Saints officially hire a head coach, we'll have that covered. But daily videos, latest news, rumors. We'll do more draft content, by the way. A lot of love on yesterday's mock draft, so appreciate you guys tuning in for that. Super Bowl 59 coverage. We got it all for you guys here on the show. My name is Harrison Graham. We will see you guys next time.